Let me guess. Somebody told you that you could hire a woman to clean your house, cook your food, and warm your bed, and it would just work out. Nobody would get hurt, nobody would get confused, and it would be simple. Maybe I need to stop you right there because what you just described has ended marriages, drained bank accounts, and broken hearts on both sides of that arrangement. And by the end of this video, you are going to understand exactly why. Hi, I'm Marian. Welcome back if you already know me, and welcome for the first time if you don't. I talk straight, no sugarcoating, about Filipinas, attraction, and the real reasons foreign men end up loving this country and sometimes losing everything in it. Today we're talking about something a lot of you have messaged me about quietly, almost embarrassed to even ask. The so-called made with benefits setup. What it really is, why it happens so often here, and what you absolutely need to know before you find yourself in way over your head. If you enjoy watching my videos, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video in the future. Thanks. Okay, come sit down, get comfortable because Auntie Marian has a lot to unpack for you today. Let's start with the honest truth about why this even happens in the first place. In the Philippines, having household help isn't some rich person luxury like it is back in your country. A helper, we call her a katulong or a kasambahay, might cost you a fraction of what you'd pay for a cleaning lady once a week in Ohio or Manchester. So a foreign man moves here, hires a young woman to cook and clean, and suddenly he's got a woman in his house every single day. She sees him in his boxers in the morning. She knows what he eats, what he watches, what makes him laugh, what makes him sad. That is intimacy, whether either of you calls it that or not. Proximity plus loneliness plus a power imbalance is basically a recipe someone wrote 100 years ago, and it still cooks the same way every time. Now, here's the part that stings a little. A lot of you are not looking for a wife, you're looking for comfort, and you found a shortcut that looks like a win win. She needs the job, you provide it, and somewhere along the way, the lines blur. I'm not here to judge you for being human. I'm here to make sure you don't blow up your life or somebody else's because you didn't see the whole picture. So let's go through it properly. The realities, the risks, the psychology, and what actually happens on the other side of that arrangement that most foreign men never even think to ask about. First, reality. This is not actually simple, and anyone who told you it was has never lived through it. The moment money, employment, shelter, and romance all live under one roof, you have created a relationship where she cannot easily say no to you and still keep her job, her home, and her income. Even if you're a genuinely kind man, even if you never once raised your voice, the power sits almost entirely on your side of the table. She depends on you for her paycheck. If romance turns into a real relationship and then it turns sour, she doesn't just lose a boyfriend, she loses her job and her roof on the same day. Think about that for a second. Would you take a job knowing that saying no to your boss's advances might cost you your income? That's the position a lot of these women are quietly in, whether they admit it out loud or not. Second reality, and this one surprises a lot of you. Many of these women know exactly what's happening, and some of them are playing the long game far better than you are. I'm not saying every helper who ends up in your bed is scheming. Plenty of them genuinely fall for the man they work for. But some understand the arrangement perfectly. They know that becoming the woman of the house, instead of just the maid of the house, means security, means gifts, means maybe eventually marriage and a visa. I've talked to women who told me flat out, in private, that they took the job knowing exactly where it could lead. That's not evil, baby. That's survival thinking in a country where opportunities for women without a college degree are painfully limited. But you need to know the difference between a woman who loves you and a woman who is securing her future through you, because they can look identical from where you're sitting. Third reality: the families back home find out, and it changes everything. In the province, everybody knows everybody's business. If your helper becomes your girlfriend, her mother knows within a week, her sisters know, her whole barangay practically knows before you've even told your own friends back home. And now you're not just dating a woman, you're being evaluated by an entire family as a potential provider. Expect requests for money for a sick relative, for a nephew's school fees, for a new roof after the last typhoon. Some of these requests are completely genuine. Families here really do struggle and really do lean on each other. But some men get squeezed for years without ever fully understanding whether the relationship was ever really about him at all or about what he represents. Let me give you a picture of how this usually plays out, because I've watched this story more times than I can count. A retired man, let's say he's around 60, moves to a quiet province. He hires a helper, 24 years old, sweet, hardworking, always smiling. Within 2 months, she's not sleeping in the helper's quarters anymore. He feels like the luckiest man alive. He tells his buddies back home he finally found real love, not like the cold women he dated for decades back there. A year later, he's paying for her whole family's rice, her brother's motorcycle, her mother's diabetes medicine, and he still calls her his helper on paper because it's cheaper that way. And because if he's honest with himself, some small part of him likes still being the boss. Then one day she asks him directly, "Are we together or am I still just your maid?" And he doesn't have a real answer. That question right there, that's the moment where these arrangements either become something real and honest, or they quietly poison themselves from the inside. Now, let me give you a different picture, because I know a lot of you watching me are not looking for a 24-year-old. You're looking for a mature woman, somebody with real life experience, and that changes this whole equation in a way worth talking about. Here's something no one in the Philippines will say to your face, but I will, because I'm a Filipina and I'm tired of watching good men get it wrong. Most Western men who come here fail for the exact same reasons. They move too fast, they lead with their wallet, and they can't tell a woman who truly wants them from a woman who only wants what they can give. So they miss out on the real thing: a warm, loyal, genuine partner, simply because nobody ever told them the truth. I'm Marian. And in How to Make Any Filipina Want You, I give you my honest playbook: the mindset that makes you attractive here, where to meet sincere women, the messages that actually get replies, and how to spot a scam a mile away. Stop guessing. It's all waiting for you in the description or in the pinned comment. Check it out. When the woman in this situation is older, say in her 40s or 50s, maybe a widow, maybe a solo parent who raised her kids alone, the dynamic shifts. She's usually not confused about what's happening. A mature Filipina who takes on a role like this has almost always thought it through with clear eyes. She knows what she's offering and she knows what she wants back, whether that's stability, companionship, or simply not being alone in her second half of life either. Honestly, this is often the healthier version of this arrangement, because there's less delusion on both sides. But don't mistake maturity for the absence of risk. A mature woman still has grown children watching closely, still has a family sizing you up, and she has far less patience for being kept a secret or kept as staff on paper once real feelings are involved. She has already spent one lifetime being underestimated. She will not spend a second one being hidden in your house like an appliance. Here's the psychology piece you need to actually sit with. A woman who is technically your employee cannot fully separate affection from obligation, even if she wants to. If she says yes to you, is it because she wants you or because she's scared of losing the job if she says no? If she cooks you something special, is that love or is that professionalism? You will genuinely never fully know. And that uncertainty eats at men more than they expect it to. I've seen tough, successful men turn into anxious wrecks over this exact question, wondering if anything about the relationship was ever real. Real quick, before I get into the rest, if Marian is making sense to you so far, do me one small favor and tap that like button and subscribe if you haven't yet. It really helps me keep making these videos just for you, and it makes sure you never miss the next one. Okay, come closer because this next part is the one most men get completely wrong. Most men think the danger in this situation is getting scammed out of money. And sure, that happens. I won't pretend it doesn't. But the bigger danger, the one nobody warns you about, is the slow erosion of your own judgment. When a woman lives in your house, depends on you financially, and shares your bed, you stop being able to see her clearly. Every red flag gets a built in excuse. She's tired because she works hard, not because she's avoiding you. She's texting late at night because she's close to her family, not because there's someone else. You've made her both your employee and your partner, which means you've made her impossible to properly evaluate as either one. Let's talk legal and practical realities for a second, because this matters and most men skip right past it. In the Philippines, domestic workers have actual legal protections under labor law, including minimum wage, rest days, and social security contributions depending on the setup. If you're keeping someone employed as a helper while she's actually functioning as your live-in partner and you're not paying her properly on the books, um, that's a legal gray zone that can bite you later. Especially if the relationship ends badly and she decides to file a labor complaint, which absolutely happens. I'm not a lawyer and I'm not here to give you legal advice, just my honest observation after years of watching this play out. If you're going to blend employer and partner, at minimum, be honest about what she actually is to you and treat her fairly on paper, not just in the bedroom. Let's talk money for a moment because this is where a lot of good intentions go to die. When you blur employer and partner, the financial lines blur right along with them, and that's dangerous in both directions. Some men become quietly resentful, keeping a mental scoreboard of every peso spent, every gift given, treating the relationship like an investment that owes them a return. That resentment leaks out eventually in small comments, in controlling behavior, in a growing suspicion that she's only there for the money, whether or not that's even true. On the other side, some men overcorrect completely, handing over control of the household finances, the bank cards, even property far too early because guilt over the power imbalance makes them want to prove they're not like other foreigners. Both extremes come from the same unresolved discomfort. The fact that you never actually settled what this relationship is. Fix the relationship status honestly, and the money problems mostly sort themselves out on their own. Now, let me flip this around because I promise you honesty, not just warnings. Some of these relationships do become the real thing. I know couples who started exactly this way, employer and helper, and 20 years later, they're still together, genuinely happy, genuinely equal partners, despite how it started. It's not automatically doomed. But the ones that work share a few things in common, and I want you to really hear this part. First, the man stopped treating her like staff the moment feelings became real. He renegotiated the entire relationship on equal terms, paid her fairly for any actual work if she kept doing it, and stopped hiding behind the word helper to avoid calling the relationship what it actually was. Second, he met the family properly, in the open, not as a secret, and let the relationship exist in daylight instead of behind a closed gate. Secrecy is where these things rot. Openness is where they either prove themselves real or fall apart honestly instead of slowly and painfully. Third, and this is the big one, he asked himself honestly whether he'd still want her in his life if she had zero financial need for him at all. If the honest answer is no, then what you have isn't a relationship. It's a comfortable arrangement, wearing a relationship's clothes, and you owe it to both of you to be honest about that instead of pretending otherwise for years. Let me also say this plainly, because some of you need to hear it from a Filipina and not just from other foreigners online. Not every young woman working as a helper wants this. Please do not assume that hiring a helper comes with some unspoken invitation. Plenty of these women just want a paycheck to send home to their kids and have zero interest in becoming anyone's girlfriend. Making advances towards staff who haven't signaled real interest isn't charming. It's the exact power abuse I described earlier. And it's the kind of behavior that gives every foreign man in this country a worse reputation than he deserves. Read the room. If she's warm and professional but keeps clear boundaries, respect that completely and let it be. Before we wrap up, let me give you a short, honest checklist. The kind of thing I wish somebody had handed men before they got in too deep. Watch how she acts when other people are around, not just when it's the two of you. Genuine affection doesn't disappear the moment witnesses show up, but performed affection often does. Notice whether she ever disagrees with you about anything at all. A woman who never pushes back, never has an opinion different from yours, isn't being a perfect partner. She's often being a careful employee who's learned that agreement keeps the peace and keeps the paycheck coming. Pay attention to what happens on her day off. Does she want to spend it with you, or does she visibly relax the moment she's out of your house? And ask yourself honestly whether you've ever actually asked her what she wants out loud and really listened to the answer instead of assuming you already know because you're the one paying the bills. None of these signs alone proves anything, but taken together, they'll tell you more truth than 100 sweet good morning texts ever will. So, where does this leave you? If you're one of the men watching this, thinking about your own situation right now, whether it's already happening or you're considering it, get honest with yourself about what you actually want. If you want a genuine partner, stop paying her as an employee and start treating her as one. In the open, with the family knowing, with money handled fairly and separately from the relationship itself. If what you actually want is companionship and help around the house without romantic complications, then keep it strictly professional and don't let loneliness talk you into blurring a line you'll regret blurring later. Both are honest paths. The dishonest path, the one that breaks hearts and bank accounts, is trying to have both at once while calling it neither. Here's the truth I want you to leave with today. A relationship that starts with a power imbalance can still become something real, but only if both people are honest enough to eventually make it equal. Before you go, If you're serious about finding real love in the Philippines, I've put everything I know into one honest guide: how to make any Filipina want you. The mindset, where to meet genuine women, the green flags, the red flags, all of it. It's the playbook I wish every good man had before he came here. Grab your ebook in the description or in the pinned comment, and I'll see you there.